Hi, everybody. Welcome to a little chat about, I'm going to paint a little bit of garden art with some DIY paints. And I want to show you what one of them looked like before. Let me, let me show you right here. Here, let me get this out of here. All right. See this? This is what it looked like before. It was just super, super rusty. I took a picture before Steve and the little pretend leaves of this garden piece, how rusty it was. Well, I've painted the first part of it. I got the turquoise blue down, not the pink. You can see how rusty the pink one still is, the flamingo. But I got the turquoise down, and it will not solve the rust. It doesn't cure the rust. Nothing is going to do that. But you can, let me show you in here too, how rusty this little piece was. Look at how much rust there was in here, right under the flamingo. And now, look, it just goes right over that rust. And so I've used this DIY paint. It's paint by Debi's Design Diary, DIY paints. So these are the paints that I'm using. And I have them in a whole bunch of colors. And I mix a bunch of colors too. Here's a couple of them open, the orange and the yellow. And so I mixed in here, I mixed this really nice little turquoise, and I got it down one coat down here on the bottom of this one. This is what it looked like right before I started. That was the rusty bottom of this one. And now, after just one coat of this paint, this is how good that looks. So, like I say, it will not cure rust, of course. Nothing's going to cure the rust. It's not going to make rust disappear, but it will hide it really, really well. So I wanted to show you that. So that's the kind of thing we're going to do. And I'm going to now mix a nice pink to go over that very sad, rusty flamingo, because that is a really sad little affair. But let me show you the other one that I'm planning. This is the other metal piece that I'm going to do. I totally love this guy. He's a frog, or she, maybe she, is a frog, and she's got a guitar, and she's got a little bit of natural rust on her as well, and that's okay. But I'm going to give her a good painting over the whole thing and make her super colorful, and right out to the garden she'll go. And you know, this is a fine piece of art just as it is. It would be fine to just put it in the garden. It's been in my garden for a few years, actually, just as it is. There's nothing wrong with garden art that's just metal. I don't have any problem with that, but I love giving some color to garden art, and I wanted to paint her for a long time. Now, in theory, you would really give it a good cleaning, but the truth is I'm not really going to do a super good cleaning of this piece. I'm going to brush off the biggest pieces of gouge, but I'm actually not even going to give it a full cleaning, because you know what? It's out in the dirt. It's going to be in the dirt. It's going to be in the weather. I'm not that worried about all of that. This isn't a fine piece of furniture I'm doing. This is a little piece of metal garden art that will be out with the bees and the bugs and the butterflies, and it's going to get rained on and snowed on, and it's going to have dirt blowing all over it. I am not worried about it. I'm just getting the big pieces off there. Okay. So like I say, this is the DIY paint, and the reason that this paint will work is because it is clay based. Let me just show you the ingredients here. This is the ingredients. Let me get it in focus for you. Love and water, clay, porcelain clay, chalk, alcohol, ester as a binder, cellulose, pigments, and preservative. That's it. It is clay and porcelain clay as the base of this paint, not chalk, and not vinyl, not plastics. It's not acrylic. It is clay. And so this, because of its clay, it adheres to just about anything. So I'm going to show you, I'm just gonna show, let me just set my camera up here so that you can watch what I'm doing. And I'm gonna start painting on this frog. And then after that, we're going to paint on the, we're going to, let me just join this. Then we're going to paint the, then we're going to paint the rest of that flamingo. All right, so bear with me. I'm just going to set you up here. Hope I get you in a good spot. So just get you in a good place so you can see the work that I'm going to do with this. Sorry, bear with me here. I don't do these very often, so bear with me if it takes me a second here to get you set up well. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So what we're looking to do is paint this frog a whole bunch of colors. I did set up some color. Paint the frog itself green, I think. I guess maybe that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of expected, but I don't know, it seems like it should be green. All right, so I'm thinking yellow for the sunbonnet, because that seems like it would be kind of fun. Oh, there goes it's very hard to get these things. It'd be easier if it was stuck in the ground, probably. So first of all, how are y'all doing? I hope you're having a great night. I am not sure, let me see. I'm not sure how to, let me see. Nope, not that. That's not what I want to do. So, if I miss comments or something, please bear with me because I'm not really experienced at that part of it really all that well. I can kind of paint, but I'm not really necessarily all that great at doing all of it all at once. So please bear with me if I kind of miss your comments or something. I'm not trying to. I'd love to hear how you're doing, what you think about like painting, garden art. Do you have garden art in your garden? I would love to know about that. I just happen to think that garden art is just like the funnest thing ever. I have like 20 kinds of small fruit in our garden, and I think having colorful garden art out there just makes me so happy personally. It makes me super happy. Now I'm gonna pick out this kissing booth color, which I just love. It's this kissing booth. It's this hot pink. And I love this color. So I'm gonna pick this color out for this like jacket. Although I can't tell the jacket from the arm, but we're gonna say it cuts off right here. I'm just gonna paint this jacket right here. And it might take a couple of coats. My brush went and got a little hard while I was yakking to you. I'm just gonna get a little water on there. Try not to dunk it in my drinking water, which is what you usually end up doing. There we go, get it a little soft. All right, so the thing about the clay paint is that because it is clay, it will dry a little faster than a lot of other paints. But here's the thing, as soon as you get your brush wet again, it will wet right back up, which is never true with like acrylic paint or anything like that, right? So it is a very unusual paint that way. It's unlike, this paint truly is unlike any other paint I've ever used. I mean, I could never just take acrylic paint and start painting on rusty metal and think it's going to hold. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? Like you could never. I mean, have you ever tried that? It would just flake right off, right? But this paint will stick like crazy. It will stick great. It'll adhere just beautifully to this. I'm gonna pick that off of there. And the colors are so vibrant. Now you'll notice when I put this color down, it's going to look, I mean, you can see how vibrant it looks right now, wet. And then as it dries, you're gonna think, wait, it's lost its vibrancy. You're gonna think, wait, where'd the saturation of color go? It looks all dry, all like the color drained out of it, but that's not it. It's just that when it's dry, it looks like chalk, and it's sort of, the color looks like it'll fade out. But don't worry, when I seal it up, it'll look all vibrant again as soon as I put the sealer on it, not to worry. And you'll know when it's dry or not because it'll start to look real faded. So I'll show you when that happens. You'll be able to see it really clearly. So I'm not worried about if there's any streaks or anything in the first coat, because I'll probably put 2 coats on just because I like to, have it. I need to give it 2 coats just to give it a chance to not have streaks. I mean, that's only reasonable to give it 2 coats. All right, so what do you think? Do you like this color? I'd love to know if you guys do any garden art. I see Nate, I see another name that I can't quite read, but hello, and I'm really glad you guys are here. Please say hi if you have any questions or you have any thoughts about gardens, garden art, clay paint, about how your day is going, your night. It's pretty late, I guess. Once I get doing art, I kind of forget about the time. So I realize it may be kind of late on a work night for most people. But this is how this is what I do for fun, is try to make something colorful and beautiful and whimsical, something whimsical and fun and lighthearted. There's just a lot of hard, hurtful, evil things going on in the world right now, and there's people hurting each other a lot, and I just try to make something cheerful. Okay, there's the first coat of the pink jacket. I think that looks pretty good for a first coat. All right, so we'll let it dry. You can see how right there it's starting to dry. It's just a little bit lighter. The color will look a lot lighter as it dries. All right, so we'll put the kissing booth aside. And now we need, we need a guitar color. Let's see, we're gonna have the bonnet be yellow. The frog face, I think, should be green, one of the greens, maybe the light green. So the guitar, we got yellow. The guitar could be orange. Let's have the guitar be orange. That'll be fun and colorful. Let's have the guitar be orange. I'm gonna get that little cobweb out of there. I guess we don't need to be painting the cobwebs. I could have probably cleaned this a little bit before I went to paint it, but this paint is very forgiving. And like I say, when I paint fine furniture, beautiful furniture, it's a very different story. But when I'm painting garden art that's going to be outside in the dirt and withstanding all kinds of weather and stuff, it's a very different, you know, I don't worry about it as much. That's a different thing. So this is going to definitely take a couple of coats. I don't know if you have this experience, but the experience I have is that orange always goes on, how do I say, it's like it always goes on thin, so to speak. Like orange is not a very opaque color usually. And I think it's because of the yellow, you know. I think. I'm not a color scientist, but I can just say that my experience with orange is that it very often goes on in a way that leaves streaks, and you have to do at least 2 coats of orange. It's sometimes 3, I find. And it's not this paint, it's every paint I've ever used that's orange. I've never yet found an orange that doesn't require more coats than every other color I ever work with. I mean, do you find that? I don't know. I always find that. Orange is just one of those colors. And I love orange. It's definitely one of my favorite colors, actually. Just as a pigment, I find that it does not hold opacity very well. That's okay. We've got lots of paint. We can put on plenty of coats. That's not an issue. So my business, my social contact and everything is Lisa Johnson Arts, and my website will be Lisa Johnson Arts very soon, but right now it's still Live Yummy. So you can find these paints, these clay paints by Debi's Design Diary DIY paints at liveyummy.com. And you can see both furniture that I've painted. You can see other types of art that I make, canvas arts, wearable arts. You can see all of it, and DIY paints available at liveyummy.com. And so if you want to try them, the sample size jar, the regular small size jar, is about this size. So it's an 8-ounce jar. It's a very nice, affordable price and small size. The second size is the 16-ounce size. That's quite a big size. That's a lot of paint. So it's very easy to try this paint. Give it a sample, try it on a few things at home, see if you like it, without committing a huge amount of money. It doesn't cost any more than like a good enamel paint or anything at a good paint store. So it's just a quality artisan paint, but it's not any more expensive than any other really good paint. So I'm just gonna try to get that without getting the strings. I guess the strings of the guitar. You know what? Here's the fun thing about this paint too, though, is it wipes off. So what I'm gonna do here, get that drip, is I am going to paint it on and then wipe it off. This paint wipes off really well, either with your finger, if you intend that, or with a wet cloth. You can do that too with a wet cloth. It's great. You can intentionally wipe the paint off anytime for that kind of effect. I do videos on how to use that effect too. All right, so I'm just gonna paint in here and get the underneath part of the guitar. Not trying to get too perfect about it. Oops. I just got a little, well, let's see. I guess we've got some orange buttons. There we go. We'll put some orange buttons on that red jacket. There we go. You just gotta go with it, you know. Don't worry about it too much. This is whimsical art after all, right? Don't worry about a thing. Do not worry, just go with it. Have fun and play. Don't think about anything as a mistake. Just a fortuitous experience. Your paintbrush helping you out. Giving joy where you hadn't thought to do it yourself. Okay, so there's the guitar. There's the guitar all painted. All right, let's see. So I think I want to kind of leave this area be so it can dry. So I think I'm going to move to the froggy face. So I'll set the orange and the yellow side. You'll notice that I have this paint in like glass jars and stuff instead of in the original containers, and you might be wondering, why am I doing that? And that's because I use the larger containers of paint because I do a lot with this paint, so it only makes sense for me to, you know, use the more economical paint amounts. And when I do that, the paint comes in a can, a metal can, and I find that it, I don't like to keep paint in metal. I like to keep paint in glass. So that's what I do. I transfer it immediately. When I open up a container, I transfer it immediately to a glass container. And that way, with a really good seal, and that way, first of all, there's no air that's going to get in, like can get in with a metal lid. But also the glass, just nothing can happen with glass. Like metal can rust, and glass just doesn't do that. Glass is great to work with, so I just prefer glass. So this is called Fancy Farm Girl, this color. I mean, you've got to love that color, right? It's just a beautiful color. And so, yeah. Okay, so this color, I think, what do you think? Is this a good color for the frog? I wish I could see. Okay, so I would love it if anybody's on, and if you'd like to say hi, I would love to hear any thoughts you have, or if you have any questions about any of this, the DIY paint, or anything, the Fancy Farm Girl paint, or the process of making garden art, or anything you have a question about, or if you have a thought about which color. Now there's three greens I could use. This is the Monet's Garden, and this color here is the mint chip. So that's a very specific, very light kind of green. I think that's an awfully light green for her face. I was thinking this is a nice middle ground. And it's kind of the same tone as these two, in terms of white and black. I think that Monet's Garden is a little dark, and I think this is kind of just right. It's a little bit yellow-green. So this is what I'm gonna go for here. And I think we might do something different with the eyes. Anyway, I'd love input and thoughts on that. Let me just give that another. Okay. All right, so here we go. I would recommend pouring if you're going to use a lot of paint, pouring it out of the original thing into something else, but I am using a very small amount, and I tend to use it off the lid because I think that that sort of keeps, if I get any contaminants on my brush, it will keep it out of the large part of the paint. I don't want to get a bunch of dirt and rusty gunk into the big container of paint here. Now I just want you to see how beautiful and thick this paint goes on. I'm using the tiniest amount. You can see what a tiny amount I'm putting on here. And can you see like how rich and gorgeous this paint is going on here, even on this the rusty parts here? I mean, can you see how thick and beautiful this paint is going on? I'm not worried at all that a little bit is getting on what will be the hat later, because the paint is really opaque and the yellow will just go right over it. Now once it has started to dry, I'm not going to go back over it and rework the paint. It kind of just wants to be left alone, but I am doing it while it's still a little bit wet. Anyhow, I don't know where y'all are, but I am in Vermont and it was super hot here today. It was like 90 something all day, but I still had to go out in that garden because it's just so fun to be out there. We have like 20 kinds of small fruit, and I live for being out in that garden. I just love it. But it will be even more fun to have these pieces out there with their, they've been out there, but they've been very sad looking. It'll be really fun to have them out here with their cheerful, fun colors, you know? This piece is a little, there. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, so I probably will end up putting a second coat on all of this, including her face, but the paint is so thick and rich, and the color is so saturated that, you can see the tiny amount I'm putting on this paintbrush. Like, it is such a small amount, and it goes on so thick. She could make this paint a lot thinner, and still it would sell very well and be a really high quality paint, but she doesn't. She makes it very thick, and so you get a whole lot of value for the paint, and I'm just so proud to be a stockist of this company. She's just got exquisite values. She's very committed. Debi, I'm talking about Debi Beard, and I really love her a lot. She's just very committed to being a really great, she's very committed to her stockists and to her sense of integrity around us, and the quality of the paint, most importantly, and the customers who use the paint. All right, I'm just trying to get under there. I can't show you this part I'm painting because I can't really get that part over for you to see, but all these little cobwebby pieces everywhere, so I'm trying to clean them up as I go. Usually I really do clean everything up before I paint it, but yeah, this one just didn't get to that today. It was so hot. I truly barely made it in the house. So we're almost done. I just love this color green. This Fancy Farm Girl. This, I wouldn't have thought I'd be partial to a yellow green, and maybe it's the way the color goes on. It's just such a beautiful, rich color. I just love it. All right, so now I'm gonna do her hands, her arms and her hands. Although I'm a little nervous about getting it on the guitar and the shirt, but I like to wait until one part is dry before I do the other part, but I'm just gonna, you know, be a little thoughtful. Oh, that is going to be really hard because it's really right on that guitar. But that's why I have this beautiful little brush. There. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay, then you can see this better than I can, I think. You have to contort yourself a little bit. All right. Well, my dream is to have a garden filled with not just the 20 kinds of small fruit that we have, but also a whole bunch of different kinds of garden art. Like, I have a few. I'd love to know what kind of garden art you have and that you like the most. But like, I have out there like one longer wind chime and one tiny little thin little wind chime. I hardly ever hear it. I mean, it's very, very faint because I don't want to drive the neighbors crazy. But there's a few other little fun little things. I'm going to tip this over and just do under her arm. There's a few other fun little things. Like, I have some old metal, like just posts and stuff that I have up and that I've painted, and they just add some color and interest to things. But I don't have enough. I really want a lot more garden art, and I want to do a lot more of that this summer. So this is just the first of what I hope will be a lot of sessions of making garden art, because as far as I'm concerned, it would take a lot for me to feel like I have enough. Okay, let's see. Is that in a good position? Can you see that okay? Okay. All right. I mean, just, yeah. It's just the right consistency. Now, see how that green just went right over that pink? I love that. So you can see now the fuchsia jacket, how it's almost all dry now, and it's much, see, the wet part is deep and the dry part is the lighter color. That's what it looks like when it's drying, when it's dry. And then when I put the sealer on it, it will come right back to life, and it'll look almost just like the wet parts look. So it'll look very vibrant again once I seal it. Now, the thing is, this frog does not have to be green at all. If I didn't like this green so much, I would have made the frog like blue or purple or something. That would have been just as fun, maybe even more fun, to make the frog like a really wild color, you know? So if you're doing garden art, I would just say, you know, not that this is realistic, a frog playing a guitar with a vest and a hat on, but I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be realistic colors. It can be fantastical colors. It could be a gold frog, you know, it could be a copper frog. I mean, you could make it really anything you want it to be without making it look like realistic colors at all. So don't feel like just because I'm doing it green. That's not how I usually think. I usually don't want to do realistic colors, but a little green in the garden is good. Now, she needs like a different color for shirt underneath the jacket. I'm wondering if the yellow might work well. And it would be the same yellow that the hat is going to be. That might actually work out really well. Let me just get this over here a little bit closer. There we go. All right. How am I gonna? I'm a righty, not a lefty. Let's see. Maybe I can just be a little bit ambidextrous for this, huh? Now the thing is, nobody's going to be peeking all the way in there for to see her shirt all the way, so I'm just going to do right under the jacket. It does go all the way, but I'm just going to this paintbrush has a little orange on it. This paint is super thick. When I left it with the lid off for a little bit, and what will happen is it is clay. So one of the downfalls of this paint that you have to keep in mind is it will dry out quickly. And so that can be great when you're waiting for your paint to dry and it dries quickly. But it can be really hard when you leave the lid off your paint and it forms a little like a little crust on the top of the paint because it dries quickly, and all your paint, like the top of the paint, dries quickly. So so it just formed like a little dry. It's a little bit dry-ish here, and so and I don't want to wet my paintbrush because that will make it too wet. I'm just gonna get a little bit of this paintbrush is just a little bit thick is all. A bit thick for this fine job. I feel like I'm playing the game Operation. I'm trying to get this fat paintbrush with a little bit of dry clay paint in it. Here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna brush this paint off in here. And then I'm gonna start over with a clean paintbrush because that is just too. Sometimes the clay paint starts to dry out from the air, and then it gets like clay. It just, I don't know how to describe it. It just gets a little bit like clay. So you just get used to working with it. So I'm just getting my brush a little bit wet, and now it's a different ball game. So now I can just put down some nice paint with my brush is a little bit wet, but I'll just put a little more on. It's hard to tell you about it unless you've used it. It's okay. Just putting a little bit more paint on. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna have to pull her up here and get her around so I can. It's a tiny little spot in there, and I'm right-handed, so I gotta get this. If I I have some really tiny paintbrushes that I got that would really be very helpful for this, but I don't have them handy. Anyway, the idea here is to very hard to paint. All right, Bubby. Well, that's about as good as it's gonna get for a little piece of, I think it was a piece of free garden art I got given somewhere. I think I found this at the dump, honestly. Sorry, sweetie, I'm not trying to offend you. I think I found it in the metal bin at the dump. There we go. That gives, oh gosh, that middle part doesn't work at all. I'm gonna wait till it dries. With the DIY paint, after you've done a bit of it, it's best to wait until it dries fully before you go back and do a second coat. Honestly, it's really better to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry, and then, oh, actually, here, we can do the top of the front part of the hat. And then we'll scoot over to the it's called a flamingo. Yeah, we'll just get the sunny part of this hat done. This is going to be a very cheerful beastie. She's going to be a fun and cheerful. Now yellow, as you can see, this yellow is going to have all kinds of streaks, partly because there was some water on my brush. So the paint is naturally a little bit thinner than it usually, this is not how thick the paint is. This is a watered down brush, so the paint is much thicker than this. But also partly because yellow is just not as opaque as any other color. It's just a very translucent color just by nature, the pigment of it. Here's how thick that yellow is. That's how thick it is. So I'm gonna have to do at least 2 coats of the yellow on here. That's okay. I just expect that with yellow and orange. At least. Some other colors too, but mostly, there's a lot of times where a DIY paint will go on and one color will do it. One coat will do it. But with yellow and orange, almost never. All right, well that just looks hard, but that's just because it's the first coat. That's just how yellow will look almost all the time. You can't even worry about that at all. But it does give you an idea of how good it will look. It'll take 2 coats at least over this dark metal color. All right, and then I'll pick out a color for the eyelids and the eyes. And then I'll do the hat and the back of the jacket. And that will be that. It'll be on the back of the guitar too. The back of the hat, the back of the hat and the back of the jacket and the back of the guitar, the back of the arm here. And this will be this piece, and this is going to be a fun piece of garden art. And once it dries overnight, let me pull the piece down here, pull the phone down here so I can really talk to you. Okay. Thanks for watching. And so once the paint dries and cures, then I'll be able to put a sealer on it, and the sealer will allow me to put it outside and have it really hold up in the weather. And that'll make it just hold up for the whole summer. And I may very well pull all the garden art over the winter. And no, I might leave it out because there isn't much else out there in Vermont in the garden in the winter, you know? So it might be really nice to have something out there. I don't know, we'll see. I haven't really had the wherewithal to paint a bunch of garden art and leave it out there. I've had kids at home, and now they're both either at college or out of college. So this will be the first year I've had time to actually paint a bunch of garden art. so it would be really fun to be able to have a bunch out there during the winter in the snow. Wouldn't that be kind of be a nice burst of color? Anyway, one day at a time. It's the end of July. I guess I'll just stay where I am. I'm really happy with how she's coming along. I will show you. Let me I dropped the. Sorry about that. There we go. So this is the flamingo, and what I'm going to do, I'm kind of running out of time here, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this this kissing booth color, and I'm going to add a little bit of water, a little bit of white, the white swan, into that container, and I'm going to mix them up, and I'm going to make a light pink, and I'm going to store that and not just use it for this piece, but I'm going to use it for other things for a pink. There is a pink color by DIY, and I have it in this small container, but I like to leave the small containers for customers to buy when I can, and so I just mix my own colors a lot of times from the larger ones, and then that way the sample sizes are there for you to buy. And so again, if you're interested in these DIY paints, they're at liveyummy.com, liveyummy.com. And there's a line in the menu at the top that says to buy paints and brushes. And so you can find the paints there. And so these are for my garden, so they won't be available for sale, these two pieces of garden art, but you can see this video will be up on YouTube, and you can watch it again if you'd like to see something about making garden art. All right, take care. Thanks for stopping by.